Three. So here we are. We're going to talk about bad news. We both thought it would be fun instead of kind of going for the more like monologue produced video. If this time we have a bit more of a dialogue just between the two of us, especially considering what bad news is about, just the heart of the song. It felt really appropriate. After Maddie brought it up, I had mentioned to her, I was like, for this one, I'm wondering if I should do something different for this video. And she's like, I was thinking that maybe, you and I should chat for this video. And it was cool because it was really confirming for me, because I'd been thinking really similar things. Like, I think I just really like the opportunity to sit and chat in general with her and a couple other dear friends of mine. So that may be the style of some of these videos going forward. For bad news, obviously we're coming off the heels of 1980s. Maddie was well featured in the videos and the canvases.
Star.
For 1980s. It was super, obviously really fun to shoot those videos in Bremerton. And then for bad news, maybe before we get into talking about the song a little bit more, I'll read the theme and the story that I had jotted down for this song, because as some of you might know and some of you might not, this whole album that I'm releasing is really a narrative to it, a thread from top to bottom, and each song really builds off the other in some way or another in helping kind of actually recount or share the whole story. So for bad news in particular, we had 1980s previously, and so now with bad news, what I wrote down is bad news picks up where 1980s left off, painting the scene of a flourishing romantic relationship in which both man and woman are delighting in the real-time adventures of intimate fellowship, not left wanting for anything, as they are beautifully living out what it looks like to be attached at the hip in both the mundane and exciting moments of life. I think that's just the heart of what bad news is really trying to get at. And when we were making the video, Maddie and I, we'd shot the canvas videos that you'll see on like Spotify and some of the other videos I released on Instagram for this song. We did that all out in Mattawa, and that was also like a really fun encapsulation, I think, to do that together.
It was like a date.
It was like a date, yeah.
It was fun.
It was really on the fly. I think we were in Mattawa visiting my folks out, on the farm, and had just dialogued it a little bit, and we're like, let's take, our iPhones out there, and, we're like, just wanted to capture the sentiment of this song, which is at this point in the narrative, right? We have like highlight reel kind of just sets the stage in general of like saying, like the foreword of a book, so to speak, of here's the journey that we're going to go on through this album, and it's a really good journey. Stay tuned. And then Totally Tubular kind of gets into it with the excitement of, from the man's perspective, the excitement of fellowship, intimate fellowship with the woman, his crush, essentially. And then 1980s is the beginning of courting and wooing, and both parties saying yes. And then we get to bad news, and it's the real-time living out of this fellowship, having the fun and the adventure in the ordinary and the high moments of life and everything, kind of in between. So with shooting those videos, it felt like a little snapshot of some of our life, where I know we've said this a lot in the past too, but we've talked about many times, even when we've gone on dates or little family adventures, how we've kind of remarked that we've appreciated and noticed about ourselves and our relationship, that we choose to and find the fun and the excitement even in really ordinary or mundane. It's not about going to do something that's exciting or going to see or be entertained by something, but hey, let's drive to a nearby town or city, or let's grab food, and on the journey, as long as we're together, it'll be fun, in the talking and the conversations that we have, and maybe the pit stops and all the things in between, and copy and paste that, of course, just to everyday life. I think we've just come to find the joy and the value of just being together, just us, and it doesn't need to be exciting circumstances to have lots of joy and fulfillment and peace. I think satisfaction in life. We've realizing that we've found the epitome of what we're looking for in relationship and fellowship in people, essentially. And that's, for me at least, what I was trying to convey, the ultimate picture of that in our relationship with the Lord, that he created us that way. He created us to find fulfillment and joy, satisfaction and fulfillment in being knit together with him, and that he paid the price, he paved the way so that the holiness of God could be granted to us, so that a holy God could have relationship then with a holy people, because his holiness would be given, granted, imparted to us through our faith in Jesus. And from that place, then we are, living a life enjoying him, and in the process being more fully conformed to the image, to the nature, the characteristics, the likeness of Christ, of Jesus. And then he creates us in his image so that we can have relationship like with a husband and a wife, and we can live out that in a, the husband, the Bible in Ephesians says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. And so my point being that he creates us to then live that out also with one another in relationship. And I think that's the beauty of what we've been discovering together, is that the ultimate joy, the ultimate satisfaction is how this relationship and this dynamic is going, and enjoying each other. And then when that's in proper order and that's healthy, like the proper order meaning first love, again, like in our relationship with the Lord, the proper order is first love, that he would hold the place of first love. And then in our lives, and he gives us the ability to then rightly love other things, other people, in the proper order, the proper stages, so to speak, proper priority. So anyways, so it's cool how God gives us the ability to model that, to live that out, for love to flow from one person to the other, and to have the privilege to say, Lord, I can find contentment in life with you as first love. And then you gave me the ability and the command and the responsibility and privilege to love my wife, and for the wife to love her husband. And in doing that in proper order and valuing that properly, to then let the other things kind of be like the cherries on top in life, whether we get to do, fun, exciting things together, or really ordinary things together. But if this is healthy, and we're serving and loving one another, then we find that we can make any, I think, moment fun and exciting and adventurous and full of purpose. So anyways, that's part of my long intro monologue. But ultimately, I would love to, if there's any, we're doing this whole thing, you and I are doing this whole thing to give people a little bit of like an insight just into us, to hear some of the stuff that maybe we talk about or wonder about or dream about and discuss. So I will hush for a little bit. I'll hush for a little bit and give you a chance.
I was soaking it in.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you first got the first idea for Bad News?
Yeah, actually, I think, yes. There's kind of two major memories. The first memory is I was in the car on the way to the gym, probably like 3 or 4 plus years ago, going to LA Fitness, and I was listening to an artist that's been an inspiration to me. And after listening to him, I was just kind of walking into the gym, and then the whole gym session I had what became the chorus melody, the and at first it was like kind of funny lyrics, because I didn't know the heart of the song yet, or didn't have true lyrics yet. I was just kind of fleshing it out in my head. So it was like something about like on the bayou, or like to Timbuktu, like this silliest, cheesiest like lyrics, but just to try to like get an idea out. And then that's where it began. And next memory I have was being we're in our apartment right now. It was a park just super nearby our apartment, the neighborhood park. And I had written some stuff, but I think I was with Miles, our oldest, when he was really little, and was just thinking through. That's when some of the truer lyrics came. Let's make a memory that 70 can't undo. And then the concept of bad news like tattoos, like this thing of, you know, at least growing up, there was like, it seemed like a pretty big social stereotype against like tattoos. You know, like you know, what we think of as like all the old folks, they think tattoos are horrible, and you kids, you know, whatever, want to do that or want to get tattoos. Like it kind of had that stereotype with it, but in reality, um, they're not a harmful, wrong, like sinful thing. So it felt like that. The tattoos became like a cool encapsulation of essentially, let's make a memory, let's go do things in life, let's enjoy adventuring together. um, and those things that maybe, you know, the examples was like sneaking into a hotel pool,
Did you do that?
which
Oh my
because
gosh.
of
Dad, you're in trouble.
it was you. That was for my one of my birthdays.
Yeah.
We'd done a few things, but part of it, she'd planned out kind of a birthday day or date for us, I think before we had any kids. So
Yeah.
it was your fault that she had me make a bad decision. Bad news. This girl's bad news. Um, we went to a hotel, or you should actually, you tell the story a little
We
bit.
were in downtown Seattle,
Yeah.
and there's this really fancy hotel. Was it Four Seasons?
It was the Four
It was
Seasons.
the Four Seasons.
Very nice hotel.
And I said, let's just act confident. Let's go in and let's go try out their pool. It's probably really nice.
You've done this before. I think she did this with her brother.
Yeah.
Or something like this, at least.
Something like this, yeah.
So this wasn't her first rodeo sneaking into it.
Anyways, we went in. We walked confidently to the elevator. We snuck in because you needed a key.
Yeah.
To get into the elevator. And we found our way to the pool.
Well, even in the elevator was tricky because we step into the elevator and you need a key card. We didn't know that until you get into the elevator, and then you need a key card to like beep and then pick the floor. And it was perfect timing. Right as we got into the elevator, there was this other man that was in the elevator that was staying at the hotel. And thankfully, without asking any questions, he just, you know, of course, beeped his card and then asked us what floor we wanted to go to. And so even that worked out beautifully.
And then when we got to the floor that the pool is on, somebody was like leaving as we were coming.
Yeah.
It worked out perfectly.
It worked out.
So we got in, we got to sit. The pool was like overlooking the skyline.
Yeah, it was like outdoors.
It was beautiful. There was a hot tub.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
It was like evening, the sun was going down. Mm-hmm. So some of these things, you know, in the song even are a mixture, I guess, of real life experiences, and then some of them are just kind of my creative liberties as an artist of trying to paint a picture, you know, with this whole thing. So
with all your tattoos.
Yeah, with my 18 tattoos, with my 0 tattoos. Yeah, so the tattoos, the fast food, sneaking into hotel pools, and
but we'll never forget it. So it's true, it's a memory.
Yeah, and including the chorus when it talks about like hop on a train or take a plane where you'd like to. I think of, we've talked about this. What's that?
Hop on a plane and take a train.
Where you'd like to?
I think you said it backwards, maybe not.
Maybe I might have said it backwards. She might know my lyrics better than I do. For the first couple lines of the chorus there, I think a lot about our trip to Denver.
Yeah. I got you so good. I am not good at surprises, but I surprised you with a trip. Yep. You didn't know where we were going.
Didn't know where, didn't know why. Oh, maybe I knew a little bit of the why. It was like there wasn't actually a big why attached to it.
There wasn't a huge why at first that you knew of.
Yep. You were in cahoots with your mom.
Yeah. We flew to Denver. We hopped on a train.
We did have to take a train. Yeah.
And we just got, I think we only had miles at that point. It was like one of our first long weekends away.
Yeah.
And we just got to have some time together.
Yep.
And then
again, nothing crazy. Super fun, but nothing extravagant.
We played putt-putt.
Yes.
We got Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory.
Yep. Went to Red Rocks.
Yeah.
The Red Rocks venue, which felt really cool and very significant. I knew like pretty much nothing about it, but still going there was like, wow, it was really cool to see Red Rocks. And then and we even stepped on stage because there wasn't an actual event happening, so we did that. And then the final surprise was like a Warriors game, a basketball game, an NBA basketball game. So really so that was, you know, some of what I think of even with those lyrics. So like attaching the song to like real life, not just real life events or memories, but also just like real life associations and feelings.
So I've seen some of the behind the scenes footage.
Yes.
Can we talk about the garage?
Yes. I don't think I shared that behind the scenes footage yet, but I would love to. Maybe I will, like in this video. We did this whole song. We produced this whole song with, I say we, because it was me, Sagen, Adam, and Asher. So super fun. So much joy and delight. We spent, you'll probably hear me say this a bunch over the course of these videos, but I can't highlight these guys enough. So yeah, Asher Postman, Sagen Nariel, and then Adam Turley. We were at Sagen's place, and one of the fun little memories about this song was we were getting to a point in the post-chorus, or I think it was the end of like the final chorus, and we wanted to add some emphasis with some gang vocals, and so we're like, let's go into Sagen's garage. And
so whose idea was it? Who was the first person to say, let's go in the garage?
I can't remember, honestly. I can't remember who, probably one of them. And then Sagen takes his laptop in there, and then we take a phone to just capture with a voice memo a screaming. And so we had like Sagen and Asher were there, and I was on top of like one of the cars, and Adam was over there being a goof in the corner, like flashing the camera with his chesticles, and that was a really fun, just like an example of us just having fun, being silly in the process of creating a song that we really love and really care about. And so it was cool to do with them, just in general, the process of they're very skilled and very particular about what they do and their approach in producing, but that doesn't mean that you can't also be super silly and super fun and capture some things with voice memos on your iPhone. So yeah, that was one fun memory. You'll hear when it's like we're always up to something shady, it's that part. So,
and once you hear it, you can't not hear it and imagine the garage.
Yeah.
Standing on the car.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about my
cameo
entry into the music world?
Yeah.
My first debut.
Yeah, your entrance into stardom.
So they're in the studio, and McKay and I are off with the kids.
McKay is Sagen's wife.
You called me into the studio, and you're like, you put a phone in my face, and you just say, oh my gosh.
And say it like, kind of sassy.
Say it like really sassy. So I was like, oh my gosh. And you're like, sassier. Oh my gosh. Sassier. Oh my gosh. I had no idea what you wanted it for. And then you guys were like, okay, go. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the song.
Which is probably pretty obvious. She's in the very beginning, the
oh my gosh,
couple lines into verse 1. Now
I'm famous. Everybody loves me.
No one, yeah.
These are
my Who cares about my songs? Who cares about my
They're
album
here for
anymore?
me.
It's Maddie.
Yeah.
We'll work on her album next.
Yeah, it's in the works. Don't worry.
That was fun, though. Drawing upon her skills.
I'm so skilled, you guys. I'm so skilled.
It was a topic of conversation.
You have no idea.
We'll see. It's getting to our head a little bit. I think so. I think I need to pull back.
I also kind of want to talk about the cover art, because we kind of were trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this ourselves for this one? I feel like with other ones, we've had more assistance, and this one we were like, we're solo. My mom was like, I can babysit this day, so we were like, okay, we're just gonna like go to this park. You had the idea of wanting to jump the fence.
Yeah, because of the lyric in the song. About hopping the fence.
Yeah, and so it felt like that day also represents the song really well. Yeah. Because we were just kind of on the fly. Running and gunning. Not really sure if we were gonna do anything cool or not.
Yeah, we had a few locations in mind in Seattle. We're like, well, we could try here, and if this doesn't work out, then maybe here, and kind of doing that thing. So but it ended up being the first place we stopped at.
Yeah.
that we've, so yeah, please go ahead. Continue.
Anyways, we only had a limited amount of time. We had a little baby with us, so he was like sleeping in the car seat.
Yeah.
And we just kind of propped the phone up. We tried a few different spots, and we just hopped the fence.
Yeah.
Back and forth, and then it ended up just being really fun and adventurous.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of fun memories doing that with you.
Yeah.
And we ended up actually capturing something that we could use.
Yes.
So it was like this almost like divine setup where a lot of times with like creating things, you have to be very intentional or else it just like doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And so for all of the pieces to come together, it felt so effortless and fun.
Yeah, trying to get the ideas or the thoughts onto something tangible, like a picture or cover art that you can show everyone. Like that's the battle or whatever. That's the translation that to figure that out. So like you said, it was totally a divine, intervention in that sense, because it was really, it was the first spot we landed at, and then we went into the skate park, observed the few different fences that were there, and we're like, okay, I think let's try this fence, this angle. We wrapped this little mini tripod, wrapped it around my giant water bottle, and it was really these first shots that we took, because later on we took these shots and we're like, okay, that's sweet, and it also turned, just so happened to be that the angle of it and the time of day, the way that the sun was shining through the trees, and there was the sky there, and you could still see the blue in the sky, that all was like a window of, I don't know if it was a half an hour or less that we had beautifully. And so we took those photos and we're like, wow, those actually are amazing. Like maybe we got it within our first, 20, 30 minutes of actually shooting. We're like, well, just in case, let's, try different setups, move here, move there, this and that. And all the other ones were like, no way. Yeah. Like they didn't look as cool. They felt lame. Like you didn't have the sun and the sky and everything. The framing wasn't right. And so even that was such a big, a big win, and a really cool, what people could look at as like an ordinary or, no big deal, but totally to us a big deal and a fun way to recognize God being involved, even in that part of the process, the album art. So there's that. And then
when it's similar when we were doing the video,
the canvas
we
stuff.
dropped the kids off with your parents, and we were like, let's just go and see what we get.
Yeah.
And so we kind of spitballed doing stuff on the 4-wheelers, running through the orchard, the back of the truck. I feel like those were the ideas.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like it was just so fun doing some of the 4-wheeler stuff, and then chasing each other through the trees was pretty silly. I have some silly memories of that.
I'll probably have to drop some of those videos here as well, or a little montage. So quick little blip about this is my folks live in a small town in the middle of nowhere. They farm, and so they're on just a ton of acres, lots of farmland, circles, some big tall trees, orchards, all that beautiful area. And so we just took the 4-wheelers into one of the fields and the orchards behind their house, and for one of those shots we were like, okay, I wanted to get just like to snap some shots of us just running through the trees. And I was like, I want to like essentially run as fast as I can in this moment. And so I was like, I'm not gonna hold back, basically. And so because of that, I was running, and it was wet and damp, and there's a lot of like, I don't know if shrubs is the right word, but just like grasses and
a lot of
weeds,
like
fallen leaves in autumn.
Yeah.
And so as I was trying to run, and I was pivoting between these to slip between these trees, I ended up falling probably like 5, 6, 7 times.
At least, yeah.
And we captured most of it, I think, if not all of those falls. But I was like, I'm not going to stop. Like I'm not going to have this clip look lame. It's going to be good. So
it was so
that was really fun. Lots of laughs doing that. and just trying things on the fly. Same with the four-wheeler. So it's basically like, okay, Maddie, here's the phone, aka here's the video camera, and we're just gonna try different things. We're gonna whip around on the four-wheeler. We're gonna drive here to there, do this, do that, and just capture it. And we got stuff that we're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And the way that where the sun was, and the way that it was popping through trees.
That's what I was gonna say, because we did four-wheelers first, then we did like running through the trees, and then wasn't that when we popped back on the four-wheelers? When the sun,
I think something along those lines. Yeah.
And so then we started like weaving through the orchard.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like the sun started popping through the trees.
It's so beautiful.
And was glorious.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And so just like it had been kind of cloudy, and anyways, it only lasted for what, 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
It wasn't very long. And it just was like the fact that we were riding through on the four-wheelers, the sun came out at the perfect time, we got to actually capture it.
Yeah.
Was just, again, like another like ordained divine like kiss from heaven, like pleasure on what we were doing, which kind of just sealed the memory in my brain.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. And then doing with the truck too. The truck was really fun.
Yeah, because we kind of walked out. In many ways, the order of the shots, or what you just described, it kind of was this mini walkthrough of like a date. Is really what we wanted to encapsulate as like a microcosm of the song. So we had the four-wheeler riding, that kind of like adrenaline adventure thing, and then the running, kind of just the picturing the on foot running through trees, on to the next like destination or thing, and then we hopped in the truck.
Well, I almost called it off because it was getting late.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think our baby's gonna need to nurse soon, so I should probably go back. Like let's just be done.
Yeah.
And you pulled the adventure out of me, as you usually do.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even that part of it is really sweet to me, because I remember being like, I feel like let's just be done.
Yeah.
Like it was great and it was super fun, but like, okay, let's just go home.
Go get the baby and all that stuff. Cause,
I'm so glad that we didn't. Because I feel like that last little bit was just so sweet.
It was. And it was kind of that golden hour. Like you were saying, we were like, okay, it's getting dark, but I think this will be perfect too. Like, capturing the nighttime. Sure, the footage will be grainier and fuzzier, but that's part of the beauty of it. So we hopped in the truck, drove around. The sun was really beautiful. The color palette of what we captured, and then sitting in the back of the truck, like it just was this really cool, like almost chronological walkthrough of a date, of time spent together doing, some fun, like exciting things, and then just the rest, just spending time, encapsulating that whole thing and enjoying each other in the process. I wanted to ask, we touched on some of it earlier, but any things that you'd want to just share or shed some light on from your perspective on this song as it relates to your relationship with the Lord, or what you think of just in that dynamic of God and mankind, Christ and mankind, and so please, whether that's I'll hop in as might feel fun or relevant, but please go ahead.
I guess to me, Jesus is so much more relational than I think a lot of people really understand. And he gets put in this box of like religion, and the reality is like so we're doing real life, and he wants to have fun with us, and he wants to take us on an adventure. Like I think for me, it's not a separate thing of like he's at church and then I'm living my life. He's living my life with me, and it's supposed to be an adventure. And with that,
go ahead. Childhood story I want you to share about.
With that, it's all perspective, whether you choose to live in the light or the dark. And so I think for me, it's like throughout your life, you're going to have these like high seasons and these low seasons, and fun times and not fun times. And I think when you remind yourself, okay, I have the mind of Christ, how can I look at this situation or this circumstance and view it through his eyes and make it fun and have it be an adventure. See it as an adventure rather than an unfortunate circumstance or a failure or whatever you're seeing it as. And so I think I get to live that out daily with you. You're so good at making anything fun. And I feel like I struggle with that sometimes. I just get so serious and I'm like checking things off the list, like, okay, we took care of this and we do this. And then you find a way of slowing down, embracing the moment, and making it fun and joyful. And it's helped to remind me that Jesus is so fun and he's not just so serious all the time. And so by inviting him in to these daily adventures, it's whimsical and a lot of like pivoting and seeing things you would think of as being bad news is actually just an opportunity and an invitation to see something as an adventure with him. One thing that I think of in my brain, I don't know if this is at all anything with the song. So when it's bad news, the kind that makes you crack a smile and roll your eyes too. I imagine that being like, hey, we missed our flight. I guess we're gonna have to stay an extra day.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
like,
a really good example.
Like I just think of that, especially because it's like talking about like plane rides and trains and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't what I was planning for or expecting, but because we're together, we get to jump into this and let's actually shift this into something super fun and really life-giving.
You're right, I think that's really cool that you just made me think of. I love that perspective that you just shared about the song, where then it made me think of in the moment. The things that God invites us into that we might think at face value sounds like bad news, or it sounds like, oh no, what? For example, like God is so generous and benevolent and in every way, with his time, with resources, with his love, mercy, forgiveness, that there can be many times in life that, at least that we've walked out, where God's asked us, to give money to someone or, to love on someone, to give of your time in ways that maybe the knee jerk can be like, oh, yikes, like that feels like a lot, or that feels like whatever. But he's like, come on, like essentially like it's going to be way better than you think. Trust me, go on this adventure of life with me, learning to trust me, depend upon me, rely upon me more and more and more as you, Ethan and Maddie, give me your yes. And so that dynamic of like, okay, life, yes, sure, there's ordinary, like life is filled with ordinary moments in which joy is to be weaved in it all. And I think with the Lord, he invites us in ordinary, but then there's so much, if we're willing to walk with him and say yes to him and give him an open ear and a yielded vessel of our lives and our bodies and our will. In the middle of all the ordinary, he invites us into a lot of things that might feel, some of them feel exciting. You're like, wow, that feels so cool. And some of them are like, oh my gosh, that feels kind of frightening. Or how is that going to work out? That feels impossible, Lord. But if we're willing to keep trusting, keep depending upon him, keep saying yes, it does then become this, he weaves this tapestry of our life, that there's this, there is this history built with him of, you're like, wow, I've not just heard of your faithfulness or read of your faithfulness, or read of these other attributes of you, Lord, but I've through saying yes and walking with you, we've come to experience and taste of your goodness, your faithfulness, and see how you come through, and in the process, how you make us more like you. You conform us to the person, to the image of Christ, through our yieldedness, through our willingness to say yes in all manner of adventures. So yeah, anyways.
Reading your Bible in the morning helps you just gain that like big picture perspective of like, okay, at the end of time and we're standing in front of Jesus, this is what it's about. And so it kind of like grounds you in that way. The song, when it says, let's make a memory that 70 can't undo, it's kind of like that perspective of like, okay, at the end of our life, when we look back, what are we going to be grateful for? What did we say yes to? Because it's the yeses that you'll remember. Did I say yes to trusting him when it got scary? Did I say yes to the adventure when I was hesitant and I didn't know how it was going to turn out? Did I say yes to the scary opportunity that didn't make sense, but I knew that he told me to say yes to.
That's a cool way to, I think, kind of bring us to the finish line. I think in this chat today, meaning that line, you, I think, encapsulated it really well. Let's make a memory that 70 can undo. That's it. We'll look back. When we look back on our lives, I want to look back and say that, yeah, I gave you my yes. Like I submitted. It's not like a forced submission. That's not submission. It's this, like, you gave me this opportunity to say, yield, and Ethan, Maddie, to your family and to us individually. In the process, I'll show you that I am Lord, that I am provider, that I love to delight in you. He wants mutual delight, mutual enjoyment in the things that seem, I think, tough to let go of, the yeses that seem hard. We realize in the process, he's just helping us say yes to that maturity, or the sloughing off of, I think, of the crucifixion with Christ, of like the things of the flesh, meaning the things that are self-centered, self-ambition, self-preservation, all of these things that try to speak really loud. Usually the invitations to say yes to him are aimed at, in the yes, gives him room and opportunity for his grace to operate, and in the process, like, to slough off and to bring death to the things that are really that are harmful to our well-being, that are harmful or opposed to us becoming more like, looking more like Christ. And so I want to look back in life and just be like, yes, Lord, we said yes. We said yes to you. And look at the masterpiece that you've painted over the 70, 80, 90 years of life that we lived with you, versus us just trying to, like, hunker down in a corner and kind of create our little mini empire and keep everything bad out, or everything volatile out, and just, try to hedge everything in our lives. Instead of that, and just like playing it safe and being so focused on just me, myself, and I, wanting to be in relationship, like you said, this what Bad News gets at, this whimsical dynamic that's so entrenched and centralized on relationship, fellowship, even through the narrative of this album, and where the story kind of takes a turn for the worst eventually, and later on, that's where the Lord, through Jesus, created the opportunity for us to come back to that and to exist in that forever. And so forever, this is the part that God is trying to get us to, so that in eternity, as we spend eternity with God, He it seems to be, from everything from the Bible speaks of in our and even our lived out experience with Him, that this has been His goal and will be His goal for eternity. Like Jesus speaks of in John 17, He says, this is eternal life, that you'll know God the Father and the Son whom He sent. And that word "know" is laced with an intimate and experiential knowing, through which we are transformed into Him, into His image. That is like the goal for eternity, is Him, knowing Him, aka relationship, fellowship with God. And from that place, everything else finds its rightful place and its rightful order. So
he just came on me.
Okay.
So this feels like an important question. Well, and this can be the last thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm supposed to ask for people who are listening, whether they have a context for Jesus or they don't yet, how would you describe or encourage them to learn to hear His voice, to know what it looks like to say yes in, like, the daily or the big picture? But I'm thinking more daily, for people who don't actually know, how do I hear His voice, and what are the things that He might ask me to say yes to? What's a daily thing that you can touch on to help explain that to people?
Firstly, I would say learn His voice. And that makes me think of John 10 talks about, Jesus talks about Himself being the good shepherd. And sorry, that's our son popping out. Makes me think of John 10. Jesus talks about being, he describes Himself as being the good shepherd, and we are the sheep. And He says that the sheep know the voice of the shepherd, and the stranger's voice they don't know. And so for me, it's one thing to read about God, to read about Jesus, And it's another thing to use and view, I should say, the scriptures, the Bible is the written word of God. See that as the foundation. His voice will not contradict his word. So then I'd say get alone. This is what's impacted my life, and many others that I know. Get alone with God as a holy rhythm, as like a habitual lifestyle is another way to say it. As a lifestyle centered around getting alone with God, with his word being the foundation, knowing that the Holy Spirit of God wants to interact and to meet with us in those spaces, and then just begin to read the word and let the word become a springboard to fellowship and conversation and dialogue and dialogue with God. And in that place, he will speak back. You will notice as he will even interact with your being, with your mind, your will, your emotions, and he'll like catch the kite of your soul, of your feelings, your thoughts, all, the different dimensions of who we are. And in that place, a life centered around getting alone with God and fellowshipping with him through the foundation of his word, will then create that acquaintance and the knowing of his voice, like he talks about with him being the shepherd and us being the sheep. So I think it starts there of get alone with the Lord, cultivate a lifestyle that tends to that relationship. And then from there, it's just start saying yes. And then so when he begins to ask things, then what we think is him, even if it feels like the faintest thing and the faintest whisper or the faintest thought, if it aligns with his nature and it aligns with the word, just give him a yes, say yes. And in the process, you'll continue, I think, to discern, and you'll continue to kind of flesh out like, oh yeah, Lord, that was totally you. I got to see the fruit of that decision or that choice, or I just said yes, I just went for it. Because if we never take that first step, then we'll never know, I think, is like the big thing for us. At least I know I personally just complicated a lot what it was like to hear the voice of the Lord. I was just so caught up in it might not be him. It might just be my own thoughts or me thinking or wondering this, or that, and it might just even be a good idea, but not him. But I think just beginning to take him for his word and realize he is love. He's so selfless and he's focused on encouraging and building up others and maturing them into the person of Jesus. So if I get to be, and I do get to be and have the privilege of being his hands, his feet, his eyes, his mouthpiece to accomplish that purpose, and he's given me the mind of Christ, and in the process of a lifestyle centered around learning and becoming acquainted personally and experientially with his voice and his person, then I'm just going to start saying yes and trusting, Lord, that's you. I'm going to say yes. And as I continue to do that, I will continue to have increased personal experience and the increased backdrop of yeses just given to the Lord, through which I can kind of, like we said, discern, learn, and recognize, oh yeah, that totally was the voice of the Lord. Because I think but we have discovered that, I think, more truly in our lives, that even these thoughts, desires, feelings, it's not like it's God coming from the sky and screaming and yelling something oftentimes, or some dream or vision.
It's like shaking you.
Yeah. Go do this. Go love on this person. Go give them X, Y, and Z, or go make this crazy decision. A lot of times it's like, I've been sensing this desire or this thought. I feel like I want to do this. I want to give to this person. Or I think we should be spending our time doing X, Y, and Z. Or I think we should get rid of this thing from our house. We shouldn't own this anymore. There's something, just God's trying to communicate something, and as we've dialogued about it, or we said yes, I think we've just come to learn, like, wow, that was totally him. Mm-hmm. He was totally saying something, and then it seems to become more frequent. It's almost like you open the tap, maybe like a faucet. Mm-hmm. It's like he's trying to say something, and our yes is almost like, pushing on that faucet handle a little bit more, or turning that faucet handle a little bit more, and it seems like that flow just happens more, and it's like, oh yeah, now and it's not necessarily that he's speaking anymore, but we are becoming more tuned into the frequency of his voice, and like, wow, he's been speaking this whole time. He's trying to communicate to me all the time. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just becoming more aware. I'm becoming more aware that he's speaking, how he's speaking, and I'm becoming more aware of what his voice sounds like, the voice of my shepherd. And I love to, and it doesn't mean you don't hear contrary voices. Even in the Good Shepherd, you says, the voice of the shepherd you hear and the stranger's voice they don't know. And obviously that speaks not of the fact that they are deaf to the stranger's voice, but the same word know, K-N-O-W, that's used there in Greek, is the same word that's used of, again, relational and experiential acquaintance. It's like firsthand contact and experience with. There's no intimate acquaintance with the enemy's voice, with Satan's voice, with the devil's voice. And so even though we'll hear a voice that's not his, a voice that's focused on self, or a voice that tries to condemn us, make us feel sinful, or like we're throwaways or mess ups, or that we're so just missing God, and we're off track. Anyways, you can hear that, but then instead of choosing to fellowship with that voice, it's saying, no, I don't listen to that. Like, just like the sheep, they can hear the stranger's voice, but they won't follow.
Can I chime in right there?
Yeah.
I read somewhere that, so if there's sheep in the field, there's, say, the shepherd's in the middle, or wherever the shepherd is, if they hear a wolf or some sort of noise, they don't even look towards the noise, they look to the shepherd.
That's so good.
And if the shepherd reacts, then they know to go to the shepherd. But if he doesn't react, it means there's no danger here.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Yeah.
And so they just continue grazing in the field. And so I think that is such a obviously accurate picture, because he is the shepherd, and this is the whole analogy of what we're talking about. But it's like, being one of his sheep doesn't mean you never hear opposing voices or even just the world's opinions. Like, it doesn't excuse you from hearing those things or feeling the pressures, but your job is to keep your eyes on him. That's your only job, is to graze, be at peace, and be with him.
Totally.
And when you hear things, you look to him, and what he says goes. So his voice always trumps whatever you're hearing or what you're experiencing. And I just think that's such a cool analogy to remember. I look to him. I can go to his word, and I can just ask him. I can just talk to him and say, Lord, what are your thoughts on this situation? What do you want me to know? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to tell me? Because I'm hearing all these other things, but I care about your opinion. And just trusting. And I also think making space for him. I think we're all so busy, whether busy with good things. We have 3 kids. We're plenty busy. Or things like, other work and fitness and social lives and social media. And there's plenty of things all vying for your attention. And I think that one of the number one things that I would say that would be a really manageable bite-sized chunk for someone who does or doesn't have a context for Jesus to learn to hear his voice is carve out space, create space for him. And with that space, like you said, get in the Word, begin to learn his history, learn who he is. He's been the same yesterday, today, and forever. But he's also doing something new. And so it's get to know his nature, get to know who he is, and then create space for him to write your story with you.
So good.
So it's both. It's get in the Word and then talk to him. Make sure you have space. Even if it's like, for me, going on a walk and talking to him is intentionally creating space for him to speak. Not being so distracted and busy all the time, which has got to be one of the most challenging things to do. But probably very on purpose. Because if you do it, that means you value it. And I think he honors what you value.
Totally. That is important. We do. I agree with you. What we spend our time with shows where our priorities and our values are. And it's to then start just to make adjustments in our life to intentionally carve out time for him in the manner that we can say yes to. It doesn't, mean we have to go from, if you're at a place of like spending pretty much like, no time with the Lord or whatever, it doesn't have to be a 0 to 100 thing. But like you were saying, if it's, carving out time for walks, or hey, I know I can carve out 15 minutes here. And then from there, the Lord will woo your heart into what else and what more he may be asking, if that's more time, or he wants to spend time with you in certain places, he'll woo you into that. But there's something really precious about, like you're saying, carving out space to say, no, I don't want like all the voices of like media and my phone, or the noise of like, roommates. The point being like, how can I just get alone with the Lord? Like, how can I, in relationship, be like, I want to have those times, those dates, yes, we do life with our kids around, and we go do errands together, and we go to church together, and we eat dinner as a family, we do things together. But also, when are we getting alone? Like, if our life was only built around like, okay, well, when we're in the car on the way to this destination, we'll catch up for a little bit, and that can be fun, and that's part of it. Like, yes, there's a dynamic that's good and not bad, but if that is the extent of our intimacy, was that, we'd be missing out big time on the potential of developing intimate fellowship with each other, learning each other, advancing deeper into the union that God has given us as a husband and wife. So it's the same with the Lord. Yes, I can go here and there and be out and about, and absolutely like communicate with the Lord, bring him into all those times, but so valuable to say, Lord, I love you and I want to know you increasingly intimately. So I'm going to choose to carve out the time that I know that I can commit to and be there for. And it brings it back to the song of, like you were saying, fellowship being the key. Like when we hear the opposing voices, voice of the stranger, voice of the enemy, assailing, attacking, condemning, everything is intended, even those things, to drive us to and toward the Lord, to drive us into fellowship with God. So even in those moments, like with the sheep, you can hear the voice, but then what do I do when I hear the voice? Do I freak out and flutter and go crazy and oh my gosh, like and then start creating narratives and conclusions based on that, and believing and living a life in belief with that? Do I hold on to that and align with it, or do I hear that and say, you know what, this just reminds me of my Father, like this thing is trying to keep me from him, I'm actually going to run to my Father and I'm going to fellowship with him, I'm going to talk with him. What do you have to say about this? Oh, that's right, this is who you say that I am. You love me, I'm blameless because of the blood of Jesus, you've given me your holiness and your righteousness. The litany of his nature, of the attributes, of the descriptions of his nature, his characteristics, how he sees us. So knowing the truth of the word, like we've said, the foundation of the truth of the word, but then having the fellowship piece with God to make the word alive and a revelation and active inside of our lives. So it's not just a textbook that we read, but it's the Spirit of God inhabiting our being, and through our fellowship, he is conforming us and transforming us into the expressed image of Christ. So just like with the song, everything is intended to drive us to fostering and tending to the fellowship and the relationship, the intimate dynamic that we have and are intended to have with God, which is what bad news is really trying to get at. Bad news feels like it's the apex of this initial journey of the narrative of with the Lord, and then we'll discover with songs to come how that kind of takes a turn. But then everything that God does and has done through Christ is intended to restore eternally us back to this ultimate utopian dynamic that's rooted in fellowship and intimacy with God. So he just is showing us that we can live it and walk it out now, this side of eternity, instead of waiting, for the other side of eternity. Is there anything else on your heart or mind?
That's pretty good.
Pretty good? Thanks for listening, staying tuned. Thanks, Maddie, for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Hopefully more of these types of videos to come. So they want more of you.
They want more of me, guys.
That's it. I'm gonna sit over here next time.
I'll just keep scooting. So what else do we want to talk about?
Which is what she says to me a lot of times. We'll be in the car, and she's like,
what do you want to talk about?
So, what do you want to talk about? I'll be like, what do you want to talk about? Until next time. Can I wave? Am I supposed to wave? We're done. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.